Good evening. This is the Town of Waterboro Zoning Board of Appeals, dated December 1st, 2016, and I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call to start with, and I will start on my right, and introduce yourself as board member, please.
My name is Joel Plord.
Sean Shoemaker, current chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Jim Southworth.
Andrew Orr.
Okay, very good. This evening, our first order of business is to elect new officers for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We need to do that. It's time, and we've had an opportunity to have a workshop and a little bit of information ahead of time. And at this time, I guess I would we're going to be looking for chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. So at this time, I would entertain any motions for a nomination for chairman.
I nominate Sean Shoemaker.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, I'll abstain. Okay, vice chairman.
I would like to nominate Andy Orr,
Okay, second on that?
Vice Chair.
Sure.
Okay, any discussions? That's it, all in favor? Okay, okay, and secretary. Take a motion for nomination of the secretary.
Jim.
Jim. I nominate Jim. I'm the worst on names, guys.
I second.
Okay, second, any discussion? That being said, all those in favor? Great.
Well, I guess you can.
Can't.
Okay.
That counts. Can't.
Get that out of the way. Very good, thank you. The purpose of this meeting tonight is a public hearing for an administrative appeal brought to us by Aaron Addition, and it's going to be map 4, lot 35.
Mr. Chair, if I can just correct, his last name is Addison.
Edison, okay.
No, Addison. His last name is
Out of
Addison.
10.
Addison?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about
That
that.
is correct.
Uh,
Correct.
That is correct. No second eye.
Okay.
At this time, we would like to look at, the board has to determine its jurisdiction before the hearing of any evidence. The purpose of this hearing is to view an administrative appeal submitted, and the application is appealing the planning board's decision regarding a 3-lot subdivision in AR zone, map 4, lot 35. The board must determine if they have jurisdiction before hearing any evidence. This is an administrative appeal, so I would say that the board does have jurisdiction.
I would agree.
So at this time, I guess we would need to make a motion that the board has determined that we have jurisdiction. So I need someone to make a motion for that. Motion made, a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 4 to nothing. Okay. Section 11.04 zoning ordinance review. Before judicial review may be sought pursuant to the provisions of the section 13.08, any decision, final action, or failure to act of the planning board, including decisions which are to be made jointly by the planning board and the selectmen, see section 2.05, must be appealed within 30 days to the zoning board of appeals for town of Waterboro by the applicant or aggrieved party. The zoning board of appeals may affirm the planning board, remand the issue with instructions which it had taken, or the zoning board of appeals may modify planning board actions for reasons which must be set forth. This was amended now on 4/26/2003. The board must determine if the appeal was filed in a timely manner within 30 days of denial. Determination made September 21st, 2016 by the planning board. Appeal filed by the application fee on October 20th, 2016 to the zoning board of appeals of town of Waterboro by the applicant or aggrieved party. So it appears that they've made that standard. So we can move from there. Okay. At this time, we're gonna ask the applicant to come to the podium and present their information to us, please.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Board. My name is Aaron Addington. Appreciate you taking this appeal up this evening. I'm up here because I'd like to appeal the decision from the planning board on my application to take the 5.41 acres of a single lot with one house on it, and to divide that into 3 separate parcels with one house on it and 2 extra parcels for land, so I can sell that land or to build another house on that. The planning board denied this solely based on not having enough square footage. The needed square footage is 80,000 per lot, and mine currently the total is 236,710 square feet. So it is short by 0.013% of that. So roughly, it's per lot it's around 1,600 square feet. So it's about the size of this is about 3,200 square feet. So it's about the size of a one-car garage for them. So what I'm coming to hear about the zoning board was based on section 8.03 on the cluster of development, which states the part that I was appealing was the last sentence, which is highlighted yellow in the first page of your packet under section 8.03 cluster development, where it says, however, all layout, dimensional, and area requirements imposed by this ordinance or the town's subdivision regulations may be altered without restriction. That's why I brought this to the zoning board, is because the planning board could have made an alteration, because it is altering just that small amount, the 0.01% difference, and they could have without restriction, but they did not for some reason. I don't know why. The reason for that, because they said it was more of a variance as opposed to an altercation. They said they were unable to do variance, but this is basically they're just altering that section, and in section 8.03 says they are able to do that. So that's why I'm here today to based on that sentence
Okay.
to appeal that.
Does anybody have any questions for him at this time? We're gonna be hearing from the code enforcement officer as well.
One question. Instead of percents, you want to give me actual numbers on how many square feet you're off of?
Yes.
On which lot?
Well, if you were to, so we divide the lots into 3. If you see the 3 building envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
The total that I'm off. I'll do the real quick math right now.
24 to 40.
One question I have is that the zone. You say in your paperwork here that it's general purpose zone, but yet when you appeal it's AR zone. Could you confirm for me, Glenn, the zoning on that?
I can, I may have to go to the map, actually. Right back.
In the interim, to answer your question, Mr.
I
Orr.
mean, it's not just a couple of feet.
Sure. It's a 3,290 of the whole overall.
Yeah, I know, I've read that in your package.
Okay.
And you had said before you were a short 2-car garage. In here.
Did I, what did I say? 1 car?
Yeah, okay.
2-car garage. Yes, 2-car garage, sorry. So I meet all other required setbacks with this. So I meet the minimum road frontage of 150 feet. The minimum that I actually have, I think, is so I meet the minimum of 150 feet. I meet all setbacks. The minimum that I have is actually 170 feet of all 3 lots, and I have 198, 204 for road frontage for all 3 lot of each lot. I meet the minimum front setbacks, which is 75 feet. I also meet the minimum rear setbacks of 135 feet. So I meet all requirements except for that.
Now, also too, you own the property behind it?
I do not know.
Well, the green on our map.
Oh, the green, sure. What this was we clustered it to save those. There's some trees in blueberry. It's called blueberry fields. There's some blueberry bushes out back there. So what we did is we clustered developed that so that would be common space, and so that no one would be able to build on the wetland or remove those trees in blueberry fields. So we clustered that amount so that was used as common space, so that you could make up the square footage per house.
GP.
It is GP.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And the reason I asked that question is AR zone, 80,000 square feet, period.
Right.
Right.
General purpose, 80,000 square feet without public water, 40,000 with public water. Currently, there is not public water on that property or adjacent to that property to be able to be in there, correct? There's no public water there. So you can't take that into consideration at this time, because you have to go with what's there today.
Good today.
The existing conditions is what dictates. Okay,
And what I was willing to do also is put in the deed that if, let's say, public water does come to that we'll put in the deed restriction that those lots cannot be then subdivided again. So I can put those in the deeds if this does get passed, so that we don't keep subdividing because it meets the 40,000 requirement if public water does reach down the old Alfred Road. That's something that I am willing to do.
okay.
Now, you're going to actually build 2 additional buildings, one on each lot?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide it. I'm going to split it up, and maybe I'll sell it for the land. I'll test the waters in the land. There are, I think, currently 10 permits out for building. So I'll just throw my hat in the ring for that, but mostly for land, number one. And if I do not find any buyers for each individual for them to build, then I will probably build a spec house and sell it that way.
Are those going to be single-family homes?
Correct, single family homes.
All right. We're gonna probably have some more questions once we hear from
Sure.
Glenn, so
I'll see you.
be prepared. This time, I'd like to ask Glenn to come up and give us the information that he has that's pertinent to this case.
Good evening, board members. When this case first came up, or when this client first came up, it was clear to me that 8.03 fell into that magically. It was a cluster division, which is what we knew it was from the get-go. And the planning board had authority to, just what it says, all layout, dimensional, and area requirements imposed by this ordinance or the town's subdivision regulations may be altered without restriction. That's a scary statement to me, but it's there in the book. So what that means is the planning board had authority to grant him that cluster subdivision without any restrictions. There has been court rulings where if an ordinance is ambiguous, and Waterboro's is ambiguous in a lot of areas, that the decision falls in favor of the client. The planning board did see where the ordinance was ambiguous in this part, but they opted not to do that. So my recommendation is to follow through with section 8.03, because that's what it says. And at the same time, you'll be favoring the client, which is what the court says towns have to do. That's all I have.
Now, is there any other impact that these houses are going to have on that street? Negative or positive?
There wouldn't be a negative.
Okay.
You're going to get additional vehicle traffic, but I wouldn't call that an impact.
It's
Old
kind of a
Alfred-
busy street to begin.
Right, Alfred Road sees a lot anyway. I don't think the traffic from that
Is this-
subdivision is going to impact it.
When 2 houses, I don't think makes a subdivision, but
Well, it's not the houses that make a subdivision, it's the number of lots that make the subdivision.
okay.
One question I have is, and I understand cluster housing very well, and I understand the principle behind it, and I don't disagree with it at all. But it's my understanding that you can't take a conforming lot of record and create a non-conforming lot.
Well,
And
that's true.
so that's my concern that I have is
Yep.
the ordinance doesn't really give you the ability to create a non-conforming lot.
Non-conforming in the fact that it doesn't meet
Doesn't meet the size
the square
requirements.
footage. And that's where it becomes ambiguous, because of 8.03. You know, they're saying it can be altered without restriction. That's, like I said, I repeat myself, that's a scary statement to have in an ordinance. But it's there.
And kind of my interpretation of what they're trying to say in that wording
Yep.
specifically relates to proximity of houses together, lengths of roads and things like that, and impacting to condense things down. And that's what cluster housing is
Yep.
all about. So you minimize the impact on building a 800-foot road when you can cluster down, build a 300-foot road, and have your square footage, and then have a dedicated area, and still not create a non-conforming lot.
Yep.
So my big question in this is that we'd have to determine, can we create a non-conforming lot from lots of record? And I don't know that we can do that. I
Yep.
understand that we have some latitude in some of the things we can do and grant
Yep.
and reductions, such as, you know, setbacks and things like that, to obtain a cluster housing. But I have to question whether we can actually reduce.
No, that's a valid question,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, no doubt.
But the other thing too, what if he included these properties to each of the properties behind there?
It still
Where
doesn't
it
equal.
doesn't add up to
Still
the-
doesn't
still
add up,
doesn't-
you're still short. That's the whole problem. They're adding that, they're including that space.
Okay.
But what they've done is they've said, we're gonna make this green space
Okay.
part of the property, but it's not owned
It's
by the
jointly,
three
this
lots,
would be
it's owned by
jointly owned
everybody, it's
property, not
conjoined.
by one particular
Right.
family.
And that's what cluster housing pretty much
Mm-hmm.
is set to do, to give open spaces to areas within the
Kind of
development.
Condo kind of
Yeah, you know,
complex.
so
Yeah.
that you can condense things a little bit and not have houses scattered all over the place. But that's my big question,
Yep.
as to whether we can actually create a non-conforming lot.
The other question I have is too, is like the place that's on Middle Road, the little apartments that sit back there. Is that, but I know most of Middle Road is zone farming, so. Is that a difference on this?
Well, you'd have to look at every lot. We have no idea that, you know, they could have met
Yeah,
all
no, he
this.
just had it in his paper as
Yeah.
a similar project.
Well, and it very well, you know, anytime you get two houses or two units conjoined,
Yeah.
you're really creating a cluster housing, whether it's on a lot of 80 or 160 or 240,000 square feet. That's what you're doing when you create a multi-unit. It's essentially creating cluster housing. And
I'm just going by what was done in the town before, as
Yeah.
cited here.
Yeah,
And
but-
something to bring up and discuss, because somewhere along the line they did that, and what was the validation there?
But there again, I mean, we'd have to, what they've done really doesn't matter to what we have
That's
here. We
correct.
have to look
That's
at
correct.
what's being
No,
presented.
I understand that.
So we
But
can't
what I'm
really
saying
go
is,
there.
so, you know, what's the, you know, probably this is gonna be a new thing popping up a good bit, the way they're building houses now.
So, Mr. Chair, what you were saying was, however, going back to 8.03, it says, however, all layouts, which you talk about the cluster housing, where the layout of the houses, for dimensional setbacks and everything else like that, can be clustered in so that that's the layout. That's what you're talking about, maybe altered without restriction. But also in that same, it said also dimensional too. So the dimensions of the houses can change. But also in that, it says the area requirements. So the area requirements, the area of the lot, can also be altered without restriction. So same. That's where the cluster housing comes in. normally you would need to have in this, 150 feet of road frontage or 75 feet of setbacks and 35 feet of side setbacks. With cluster, you would not have to do that. That's why they have cluster housing. That's what it says here. However, all layout, also dimensions too. If for height reasons or for length, you can make a building longer than what you normally have for dimensions. And then also says and area requirements. So the area requirements would be the area that the houses are in, which would be this lot that I'm proposing, that I'm talking to you about, which doesn't make the area. The area is smaller than what's the proposed 80,000 square feet is.
I understand where you're going with that. In the area, you're partially right, but the bottom line is you can't increase your density of that area greater than what's permitted by the square footage of this lot. If you do that, now say you've got 5 acres. We're going to take a number of 10 acres, okay? You want to build 5 houses there because it's 2 acre minimum or 80,000 square feet. You can condense that down as long as you meet your septic system and well spacing from each other, because that's a critical component of that. You can reduce that lot size and take the balance of that and put in common area, which is essentially what you've done here. Okay, but it still has to meet your density on that 10 acres, can't be any greater than what's permitted by that zone, which would be 80,000 square feet. If it was village zone, it could be 40,000 square feet. It's the density of that property as well. And I guess my biggest question here was that you've raised that someone's got to we've got to look. I don't think that we have the ability to increase density beyond what's there. And at this point, I personally would feel more comfortable getting an opinion from the attorney on that as to whether we can increase or decrease density and create a non-conforming lot out of a lot that's conforming. Because I'm very concerned about doing that. And I'm not opposed to things, and I think that your plan is great, but if we do something and it's not right because we clearly cannot create a non-conforming lot and we do it, down the road, someone's going to come back and say, well, and...
Down the road on this? Or I'm not sure when you say down the road. Well, someone's going to come back.
Someone else could come, or you could have an abutter or whatever could appeal our decision and say you can't create a non-conforming lot out of a conforming lot, and then may have a case. I really think that we need to get that question answered because it's not clearly in amongst the cluster housing. It doesn't get specific as whether you can increase or decrease density.
It doesn't, other than that statement about the area.
Right.
But I can definitely shoot something.
And there may be something further in here not associated specifically with cluster housing, but with lots in general. It says you cannot create a non-conforming lot out of a conforming lot. So personally, I would like to have the attorney just give a quick look at it and say you absolutely cannot create a non-conforming lot, or you have the ability to create one under this condition, which would be cluster housing. I really think it's important that we get that clarified
You want a motion?
for everybody's benefit.
No, I agree, Mr. Chair.
Sean, should we make a motion to table this until we can get the attorney?
Well, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a motion to seek attorney's input on this, and we'll do a continuance of this hearing. And we don't wanna delay, we're not trying to put it off, but we gotta do it right. Because if someone appeals our decision, and it can be appealed, then we've got a long drawn-out process that could go down the road. I'd rather take a little bit of time, get a legal opinion on that, and then go from there. It's always been my understanding that you can't increase density. You can reduce the size of the footprint where the house is actually at because you're taking the balance of that footprint and making it cluster, but it doesn't mean you can increase the density.
Yeah, and that's where the ordinance gets ambiguous.
Right.
you know, the
Yeah.
one page that says you can't, and then another page that says you can.
Right. And the ones that says you can't do that may fall higher up and capture all zones,
Yeah.
not just cluster zones.
So is
It
it-
says you can't create a non-conforming lot.
So by vote of the board, I'll contact Natalie, if that's what the board wishes me to do. You want to get a motion on me calling a lawyer?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we request some input from the attorney for some clarification on the ability to increase density and reduce lot size requirements as pertaining to cluster housing, and if we have the ability to do that.
Okay,
And I would like to, that's my motion, and second on that.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question on this very issue. You know, we're here to look at the decision that was rendered by the planning board. And one of the items that came up was that is what we're talking about, I think. See, and I'm reading the last sentence, cluster development may not be used, however, to increase the overall density of development. It doesn't say anything about conforming or non-conforming, it just says you can't do it. Is that, you know, so maybe that should go in with your question.
Well, and that's, my question will cover that. That's density. Can we increase density or reduce lot size requirements? It's the same thing.
yep, it
Yeah.
is.
And,
I know what you're after.
yeah, yeah,
And Joel, that's where it becomes ambiguous. You know, that's
That's right.
what you just read. And then
Yeah.
you go back to 803 and it says that you can alter it without restriction.
And in addition to that, you have 31002.
Right,
It was very clear.
yep.
Very clear. And I can go further, I mean, more evidence before that, that maybe we can't look at because this is an administrative appeal. But as long as we're talking about it, on Article 3, Section 3, there's a summary of dimensional regulations contained in Article 3. And that includes general purpose, and that has 80,000. So that would show intent in a way that this is what they want. And whoever framed this.
right. And that's the requirement for that.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's why we have to, that's why I really want, where we have this ambiguous information that's in this, I really think it's prudent for all of us to ask that question,
We're all
to
together,
know
yeah,
if we
yeah.
can increase density.
Yep,
It's not that I'm trying to prolong this or put this off, but we want to do it right,
absolutely.
period. And just because it says you can alter sizes and this and that, that doesn't necessarily mean you can alter the size of the lot itself. You can alter setbacks, things like that, conjoin properties so that you don't have to have the 35 feet between each unit, which cluster housing, you know, putting together, you've done away with that.
So that's dimensional, but what's area requirements? That's what that's what the words because you said that what you described is dimensional. What they said, however, all layout, so like dimensional, and then area requirement. So what would area requirement be?
Area requirement could be the amount of area that you could build on a piece of property, because you're limited to how many, your percentage of area that you can't build, because you own 80,000 square feet, doesn't mean you can build an 80,000 square foot house on it. But we could say if you have a 20%, if you're in a zone that only permits 20% lot coverage for the construction, we could say, well, because of what you're doing, you've got 4 units, you want to create a common area in between, we may be able to let you build on 25% of the area coverage for lot coverage. It's not the lot area itself. When you create a lot, you're creating a lot of record that has to meet these numbers. And if it's conforming today, we may not be able to create a lot of undersize as a lot of record, because you're creating a non-conforming lot. after zoning was enacted. Prior to zoning, there's a lot of lots are non-conforming, and you have to allow them to build, but I don't know that we can create a non-conforming lot. So. And I just really think that we need to get clarification on it, because there is some,
Yep, I'll do it.
yeah. And it may work out perfect and come back and say, yeah, that is one thing you can do. I've never seen it. I've never known that you can increase density. So that's a concern of mine. That I'd like to have some clarification on that,
I'll find out.
okay?
Did you need a second? Did you need a second?
No, it's been seconded.
Yeah, we got a second. We were in the discussion. Okay. Should I include in that we're gonna table this until we get information, or do I make that a separate motion?
I would make that a
Separate motion.
Separate, okay,
But you need a vote on the one that's on the floor right now.
okay. So I guess at this time, all those in favor of seeking the clarification from the attorney on the motion that we put in? Okay. Now I would entertain a motion to table this item until we receive the information back from the attorney, and then schedule probably for the next,
Schedule a continuance.
and we'll do a continuance to the next motion, to the next meeting. We'll schedule a meeting, get them in here as soon as we can, quickly as possibly can.
Well,
Right.
I've already published that next Thursday would have been the snow date. So if you wanted to make it next Thursday, we should hear back from Natalie before then.
Okay,
Yeah, sounds
sounds
good.
good.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I want to get it through as quickly as I can. I'm not trying to slow you down, I'm not trying to shoot you down. I just want to get it right for you.
Yep.
And if we can get interpretation from the attorney and
I
come back
suspect
with that.
she's gonna have a quick answer for us, I suspect.
Yeah,
So I'll shoot something off to her tomorrow.
yep,
And I agree with Tammy that we should just schedule one for next Thursday, and if we don't get it by then, you know, that's a week.
then we'll reschedule if we
Right.
can't get it by then, but let's hope that we can get it quickly and be able to come in and have your meeting next Thursday. So I would make a
Second
motion
that.
that we,
And proceed with it.
you got a second on that? Yeah, perfect. All those in favor? That's what we're gonna do. And please rest assured, we're not trying to slow you down, we just, there's issues that need to be looked at and addressed.
You need a motion to adjourn
Yep,
if you're all done.
I guess we can do that.
Motion to adjourn?
A second?
Yeah, great, all those in favor? Boom.